Making this mistake in your branding could cost you a lot. You could lose followers and people will lose trust in your brand, and it will lose that consistency, and it can lose that overall cohesiveness to your brand. It can really be a huge turn off. I'm Tabitha, a brand design educator, and today we're going to look at the biggest mistake that can be hurting your brand. There are constantly new ways that you can be sharing your brand, new apps, new features, different ways that you can be showing up online. As online business owners, we're constantly having to think about new touch points and how we can utilize the new technologies. A good example of this is the new Reels feature on Instagram. But the trouble with new features like this is we can easily get caught up in the hype and what everyone else is doing and not take the time to consider how our brand should be using it. We'll look to experts and early adopters and see how they're doing things and try and imitate the exact same thing, but that may not suit our own branding. Branding needs to be consistent. Consistency is so important in branding because it helps our audience relate to us and recognize us. It helps them paint a picture of who we are and connect with us. If we're inconsistent in our branding and our brand has no clear style and voice, you're going to confuse people, or worse, turn people off. And consistency isn't just limited to using the same fonts and same colors and same logo all the time. Consistency is about having the same style, voice, feel, vibe, message, and value. When people come to associate your brand as something, if you suddenly do something different, you're really going to confuse them. It creates a disconnect, confusion, and turns them off. So how should you approach a new touch point in your branding, such as a new app or new feature? Rather than rushing in and trying to be the super early adopter, you need to take a step back for a minute and think about how your brand will use it. Ask yourself, what is your visual style? How does your brand feel? What won't you do? What are your values and ethics? What music and audio suits your brand? And what music and audio doesn't suit your brand? What is your brand's energy and vibe? And when you go to use it, how can you make it feel cohesive with everything else you're already putting out there for your brand? What's your brand's voice and what language do you use? And what are your values and ethics? What value do you bring and what do you promote? And what certain methods and strategies do you stand by? Asking yourself these questions will make it a lot clearer about how you should approach a new touch point. And this means you'll be more creative. You're not just looking to what everyone else is doing and trying to imitate that to try and just catch on to the trend, but you're really thinking about how you can approach it in your own way, and then you're going to come out with something a lot more creative and different and unique. So what is the opportunity and gain from avoiding this mistake? By taking that time to step back and consider how your brand would use it rather than just jumping in and doing what everyone else is doing, you're actually getting that opportunity to be more creative and to actually stand out. Sure, some of your content might fall flat or it might not work out the way you hoped, but it's about you thinking your own way, not just, trying to do what already seems to be the tried and true methods, but really thinking, how can I approach this? And then you could do something that really stands out and people go, wow, that's really different from everything else I'm seeing. That's really cool. And of course, your audience is going to love you all the more because you're showing that you're staying true to your branding and you're not just going to be a sellout for whenever something fancy comes along and you think, oh, that's a new way I can get attention, I'm going to go do that. The audience that you already have know that they can trust that you will be consistent and you're going to constantly be what they expect. So going back to the Reels example, what I noticed is that a lot of the very early adopters were people that were using TikTok. So they already had a particular style that they were using and they were bringing that same TikTok style into Reels. The trouble with this though is that that style doesn't suit everyone's brand. And so I once saw someone do a Reel and they used this really modern boppy pop song and it just was full of energy, which is great if that's your brand, but their brand was very soft, calm and soulful, and it felt like there was this real disconnect. It just felt weird and off. It was like, is this who I really think it is? It just throws you off because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't fit. And when I mentioned it on stories and asked what other people thought about this, I got feedback with people saying that they felt like it cheapened a brand and it can even turn them off and they may want to unfollow people because it creates this jarring experience where you come to expect a certain thing from someone and all of a sudden there's something completely opposite that they're putting out there. But on the other side of things, I've seen people use Reels really well where they've actually approached it in a really unique way. Such as instead of using music, they've decided to have a really consistent theme and just use voiceover, such as saying every time they do like 3 ways you can do this, and every single one is just the 3 ways with the voiceover, and it really stands out. Another example I saw was someone doing a 15-second podcast, which was really clever, where they interviewed someone. It was just like a one-sentence answer. And it was just so different from everything else that was out there. I also saw a video editor that did really clever things with video, using split screens and, you know, using parts of movies and things. So they really made it suit their own branding, and it stands out because it's just different from what everyone else is doing. They're not just doing the typical pointing and dancing stuff, they're doing something really unique and clever. Obviously this takes time and creativity, but there's such great opportunity and a real opportunity to connect with your audience even deeper when you really consider how your brand should approach something. I know you might see that what everyone else is doing might be popular, and you see their success and you think, well, if I do the same way, then I'll have that success. And it's scary to go out on your own and try something new and different, because sure, it might not work out, it might not get that same traction, but it's really important that you create that consistency for your audience that you already have, and not just constantly thinking about how you can pull more people in, because that's just selling out. That's just thinking about how can I get more attention, and I'll just do whatever it takes to get that attention, rather than thinking about how you're really building a strong brand identity. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments if you've got any ideas from this about how you might approach new platforms or features. Maybe you suddenly got a great idea for how you might use Reels now because of this. So let me know, and if you want to learn more about branding, graphic design and creativity, then be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.